How to actually climb with Shen in 3 easy steps. I just had a challenger coaching the other day on Shen, and I just realized that I played this champion completely wrong, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. So I have prepared for you 3 steps, and the third step is the most important one, so make sure to stay until the end of the video, because if you don't get the third one down correctly, the first 2 don't make any sense. So make sure to take some notes, because it will be a lot, and let's jump right into it with the first step. My name is Mario from Climb with Mario, and today I want to share with you some challenger knowledge on the champion Shen. And the first step is the thought process before the game starts, so in the champion selection. You want to pick Shen if your team needs a tank and if you have a lot of burst champions, which you can use your ultimate on. And there are 2 room pages for Shen. The one is the standard room page with grasp, and the other one is the sustain room page. This is for harder matchups, for ranged matchups where you will have a bad time in the laning phase. So then you take the rune fleet footwork for some more sustain, because you won't be able to proc your grasp. So that's the reason behind that. And then the next thing will be the items. So you want to think already before the game starts what you want to build on Shen. So you want to be already before the game starts be thinking if you need anti-heal. If you need anti-heal, you want to build an early Bramble Vest, of course. And also if you want to build Tabis or Mercs. This is always good if you already know this before the game starts. And then the most important thing is which mythic item you build. You have 2 options. You have the Frostfire Gauntlet and Sunfire Aegis, and you most likely want to go for the Frostfire Gauntlet, because you we will go into that later actually, but the thought process behind it is you want to slow the enemies. This only works if you are against immobile champions like Misfortune, like Jhin, who don't have a lot of escape. But if you play against, for example, Ezreal or champions with a lot of dashes, then the Frostfire Gauntlet won't bring you a lot. So then the Sunfire Aegis is better. And afterwards you will build team dependent. So it's you don't never build the same build again. Over and over again. You always build different, always according to your teammates and your enemies. If you're the only tank on the team, you want to build full tank, no damage at all. But if you have, for example, a second tank or a second off-tank bruiser, you can of course build a little bit of damage with Titanic Hydra. And yeah, I will go into that again later when we talk about the most important thing you need to know with Shen. You also can choose between teleport and ignite, so you always want to go TP and flash or ignite and flash. But for most games you will take teleport, because it's a big synergy with your ultimate, because you can, for example, use your R on the bot lane and then TP to top lane back again very fast, so your opponent doesn't get a huge lead or a lot of platings, so you will be there back in time to stop him from doing that. But if you have actually the possibility to kill your opponent in the lane, and if the ignite helps you doing that, then the ignite might be better. For example, against Jax, you want to stop Jax from scaling, and you do that by punish him early. So to Jax, for example, you want to pick ignite, because you need that early pressure on him. Otherwise, you're not really playing the way you should against this champion. So I don't really want to give you an example of every single matchup and what to build. I want to give you the thought process behind it, so you can apply it to every single matchup and every single game. So you won't need any guide or any help. You can just do it on your own with this knowledge, because this way it's the most effective the most effective strategy to make you play this champion correctly in any matchup. The second step is the laning phase. So from minute 1 to minute, let's say 18, about something between 15 and 20, it's the laning phase. And there, of course, you don't want to coin flip early. Just go to your top lane, hide the bush, the tribe bush, or the river bush, and don't coin flip early. Just be chill and go to your lane. Maybe leash your jungler, of course. And then you want to start with Q, then E, then W, then max Q, and then max E. And of course, every time you can, put a point in your ultimate. And then you want to think about what I talked earlier. If you can 1v1 your enemy, then of course you want to play a little more aggressive and actually look for trades. But in the most cases, you want to play safe early. You want to focus on CSing and not taking too much damage, because a lot of top laners are very bursty and deal a lot of damage early. And you also want to keep in mind that with your ultimate, your ultimate doesn't help you against your enemy on top lane, because you can't use it in the 1v1. You need an ally to use your ultimate. So if you hit level 6, in most cases your enemy will outtrade you, because they just have their ultimate which deals actually damage and is not a shield like yours. So this is it for the laning phase. You don't want to do anything special or risky in the laning phase, because Shen is a mid to late game champion. So you really want to play this champion to his strengths in order to take the most out of Shen and to carry the game a lot more than you otherwise would. And the last and the most important step are the team fights. So the objective fights, the moments where you use your ultimate for an engage into a team fight. And there this is the hardest thing to execute on Shen, because the first thing is you want to think about which champion you use your ultimate on, because you don't want, of course you want to use your shield, so you want to take an ally who actually gets damaged, but you also want to keep in mind that he can't die while you're using your ultimate, because otherwise you just won't be there and you won't be there for your team. So this is the first thing you want to keep in mind before you use your ultimate. What you really want to be doing with Shen is you want to zone the enemies and you want to peel the carries. So you want to do both at the same time. This is if you build full tank. If you build damage, then of course you want to actually deal damage. You want to look for the best target to taunt. Of course you want always try to taunt multiple targets, but if you build damage, then you actually want to go on the carries and deal your damage. But if you build full tank, and this is what I talked earlier, is you really want to make use of it. So you taunt the enemies, you taunt as much enemies as possible, so you take the damage of them. Then you actually go back to your carries and peel them. So you don't want the enemies to come anywhere nearby your carries. You don't really want to deal damage. You're just there to take as much damage as you can, and you really control the enemies by doing that. So you really give your carries the chance to deal the most damage possible. You can shield them with your W, which is very important. And you always want to jump back and forth between zoning the enemies and peeling your carries. So this is the most important thing. And if you play Shen like that, then you actually want to go for the Frostfire Gauntlet, and in most cases the Randuin's Omen, because this way you have a lot of engage, a lot of sustain, and you also have 2 slows. So one is your Frostfire and the second one is your Randuin's, and by hitting both of them you just can really control the team fights and this is where the strengths of this champion come into the game. And this is the most important thing. You really have to practice this a lot, because it's not easy. And if you get a feeling for it, and if you get this down, then you will be able to carry very, very hard into the late game, even though you don't really deal damage. I mean, you have some damage from your Qs, but you are not there to deal damage. And in most cases you actually want to play Shen as a full tank. Of course, as I said before, you can build him on damage, and if you do so, then you of course want to play him differently. And also, in most of the time, if you have your R and TP up, you always want to be split pushing. So you only want to go with your team if you actually don't have your R up and you don't have your TP up, and you really need to be there. So let's say the dragon is up and your team is on the way there, and you are in your base. You want to head directly as fast as possible to the dragon. But if you have TP or R, then you never want to go directly there, because you can push out top or bottom lane and have pressure on the lane and on the enemy team with your ultimate and your TP at the same time. And this is actually how you play Shen. So it's a very, 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 very good late game champion. You really want to play him to his strengths, because then he is such a very good champion for solo queue and of course for flex queue. And yeah, those were the 3 steps. If you learned at least anything from this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up to support my channel. Also comment down below. Let me know which elo you are in right now, because it's always nice to know. You also can ask me questions. I will always answer them, and also if it's a bigger question, I will make a video on it. And yeah, make sure to also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also hit the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming videos, because I'm dedicated to post videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday until I make it up to Challenger. And yeah, that's it for today, and I see you in the next video. Bye.